We're live, Expert 35. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia, and as promised, experts from 35 different industries talking about the challenges, the hardships, and the opportunities. And today we're going to talk about, design, motivational, personal self-care, and nobody better than Shadana, petite designer extraordinaire. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
No worries. So excited to talk to you. I think it's just so interesting that like the world is changing, design is changing, fashion is now some gear up, right?
Yes.
And really, I think it's going to be a really new way of thinking. And on top of everything, you launched during a pandemic, so you launched your line. So we want to get into that. Before we jump in there, guys, text Expert 35 to the number on the screen if you want to be a guest on our show. And if you want to contact Shadana, here she is, fashion extraordinaire, Expert 56. We're going to get right into it. How did you get into designing and everything that you do now?
Well, I've always been into fashion. Like I've always been very fashionable in high school and in college. But it wasn't until I graduated from college and started my first 9 to 5, like I would always get compliments just about every day about what I was wearing. So my coworkers were asking me to help them style their clothing for special events and for work. And I was like, wow, I can make a career out of this field. And so from there, yeah, so I started off as a stylist, and I was a stylist on air. So I was doing appearances on Great Day Houston and local television shows. And I sailed to Spain for 3 months and really got inspired by European fashion. And after being there, I said, hey, I can design my own clothing. And so when I came back to the US, I set out to launch a business and become a designer. And that's what I did. And just a little bit of the backstory. I didn't necessarily launch because I realized I had a dream and a vision, but I didn't have the education behind it. Like I didn't know what I was doing. So I really had to step back and educate myself, take classes and within that field. I had to work in the industry. So I recently launched this year.
Right. And so you have to kind of know how things have changed and there's not just trends, but there's also, vectors, right? There's fads and there's vectors. And I think they're totally on like a vector. And I think that's why it's so interesting to talk about you. So yeah, I mean, first of all, launching during a pandemic, right? What was it like? I mean, rules change, socially distance. I mean, what do you think was like the biggest hurdle? First of all, the enthusiasm, right?
Yeah.
You have all these visions and then maybe you did a 90-degree. First, you probably did a 30-degree turn. Then you did a 90. Then you did a 180. I mean, like, tell us how it was.
It was definitely crazy because I launched during a pandemic, but this was before the stay-at-home order. So I still had hope. And so I was actually working with a manufacturing company in Los Angeles to produce my clothing. So as soon as we had the stay-at-home orders, they had the clothing manufacturing company down. So that paused production on my clothing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to lose out on sales. But thankfully, I had some T-shirts in inventory, which is called Pretty Petite. I designed a shirt that was inclusive of all women of all different races and religion. I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now. You'll see the woman with the hijab on this side, and then you'll see a Black woman, a white woman, and an Asian woman. So I was still able to sell my shirts, but all of my other inventory, I had to like put it on pause. And also I had a lot of pop-up shops that I was going to do that I couldn't do. So I definitely lost out on some money and some stuff.
Yeah, the direct, you can't have these big events, right? Like the big event is kind of what drives attention, and you kind of share of other things, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got Jennifer Johnson to chime in. She wants that striped jacket.
Oh, she do? Yeah. That blue dress is actually the first dress that I designed.
Right here. I think that's the one she's talking about. Here we go. Let's hide the other one. She's talking about that striped jacket. That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so interesting, right? Like being in this environment where you really have to adjust, right? So tell us, like, what are things that you just couldn't, you had to stop, right? Did you have, you're saying some of the pop-ups, some of the events, right? What was that like in terms of like the full 180?
It was a full 180. I definitely had to stop, and it kind of brought down my momentum a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I had to do some mindset changes. I had to, before I can pivot my business, I had to pivot my mindset and know, okay, this is a pandemic. It's not going to last forever, but how can I change my business for the better? And so what I thought about was I started working from home because I do have a full-time job, honestly. So I noticed I was doing a lot of virtual videos. So I'm thinking, okay, as a designer, so should I start designing from the worst waist up? So no pants, only blouses and dress. That's something to definitely think about. I think I realized people were taking sanitation a little bit more seriously. So I started doing my research on antimicrobial fabrics to include within my clothing so that are pathogen free. They don't carry germs, they don't carry bacteria. So that's something that I'm actually working about including in my line going forward. So just thinking about that, I had to pivot my mindset before I can pivot my business. And so that's what I'm working on.
And Jennifer's basically like, this is exactly what we're going to talk about, right? We're talking about how can clothes empower women, because this is exactly what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about, little things we can do, because we offline we were talking about, hey, self-care, it's so important, but really, like, be you, right? So
Be you.
run with that, and tell Jennifer what you do.
So clothes can empower women because I believe when you look good, you feel good. So you still have to dress up. Like I mentioned before, I do have a full-time job and I've been working from home for the past 3 months. And when I first started working from home, I was working in loungewear. And I didn't feel good about myself. Like I didn't feel like I was productive. I didn't have a high momentum. I'm not gonna say I didn't want to be at work, but it was different. I was feeling slouchy. But when I pivoted and changed my mindset, okay, just because I'm working from home doesn't mean I need to look like I'm working from home. So on my virtual videos, I put on makeup, I dressed up in the morning, and I really felt good about myself. And I started to notice a shift in my productivity during the day, a shift in my work, and just everything around me just started to shift. And I started to really feel good about myself. So,
And I think that's really important, is we're talking about
mhm,
Howard, right? Making your bed, little things like that, getting
mhm,
dressed up, right? Men are
mhm.
different. We can just wear the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm,
And now,
mm-hmm.
like the other day, I just bought something online, and I was wearing new shirts last week. So I don't know if people noticed it on Expert 35, but I had a different color shirt to the point that people ask me if I only have a 20 green shirt.
Really, yeah, yeah. But that's your brand and your brand colors, so.
Kind of, but at the end of the day, I was like, wow, it was nice having like a new shirt. And I have, I'm not going to go to the mall and like buy clothes. And so I bought something online, and it really did like just kind of boost me. I was like, I have something new on, right?
Yes.
But I think for women, it's just also, that moment of, hey, I'm dressed up. Like just wearing
Mm-hmm.
high heels makes people feel good.
It does. Yeah.
So wear
Yeah.
high heels one day, right? And,
Yeah.
and and go to your Zoom meeting in high heels. Greg's asking the same thing, right? Like, working and staying at home. What are little things we can do? Yeah, you were talking about, the clothes, obviously on the design side, but let's talk about other personal care things like, I need a haircut, so I've been trying, but it's hard. What are things?
But you're doing good. You're doing good. Yeah. So I would say self-care, like you have to take care of yourself. Like it's a lot of DIY things you can do. You can do facials at home. You can do your nails. You can do your toes. Those type of things. Definitely take care of yourself to keep yourself empowered so that you can really feel good about yourself. So do the self-care, do the things that you need internally, and then put on the clothes.
What about, here's a great question from Jana. She's asking, what is your favorite accessory to dress up an outfit?
A favorite accessory?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is an accessory, but I love lipsticks. As you can see, I'm wearing lipstick now because you don't have to have a full face of makeup, but you can put on some lipstick and it'll give you a pop. I also like to do a blush or something that'll bring my cheeks out, but definitely lipstick and maybe a blush.
And I just noticed your nails. So show us your nails, right? Because you're talking like pedicure, manicure, little things like that can make a
Yeah,
really big impact in
it
just
does.
making you feel like you're back in, be yourself again, right? And
Yes, yes.
be there. So that personal care, so important, so empowering
Mhm.
too, right? Like just if you're doing, and this is things we were talking offline, is, you know what, get your girlfriends together and
Mm-hmm.
have those Zoom calls, because that's what it is, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
having these Zoom calls, but make it like not necessarily a theme, but tell them, hey, wear your high heels.
Wear your high
Right?
heels.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna wear a nice shirt because we're gonna have
Yeah.
a happy hour. I'm gonna wear like a nice shirt, maybe a sweater.
Right. Right.
Like, you know what? Why not? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just as empowering as like what we said. Start with little things, and what are the little things we can do in the morning just to get our mindset, accomplished away from the what you were saying. Like, don't just put on the sweatpants and put
Mm-hmm.
a shirt on top. What are other little things you can do to really make that self care pop?
Like I said, it starts with mental. I like to do like a daily devotional. So you have to get your mind in order before you can really set the day off. And I like to meditate in the morning. Like when you have a quiet moment, you get clarity over your life and about what you need to do for the day. Another good way to start your day off is when I get out of the bed, I always make my bed, and I never really understood the psychology behind the why I should be making my bed every single morning until recently, but it shows that you've completed your first task for the day. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely make your bed. Do your daily devotional, whatever that looks like, whether you're spiritual, reading the Bible or whatever, or just meditating. I like
Yeah,
to
exactly.
meditate.
Get into that mindset of like it's gonna
Get
be.
into that mindset. Yes. Hmm.
Now, one of the things that I always say, it's like coming as a foreigner, the United States. A lot of people, when they say, "How's your day?" the answer is like, "It's great. Everything's great," right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because not everything is great.
Not
We
everything
have
is
the whole
great.
BLM thing. We have the government, and I mean, we have a really like broken structure right now, and we're
Hmm.
all at home under a lot of stress, under a lot of pressure, right?
Hmm.
So it's almost
Hmm.
better to open up with the vulnerability. Start backwards. Say, you know
Hmm.
what? I did have a rough day yesterday, but today's going to be
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like to do like affirmations over my life in the morning. Like after my meditation, just speak like affirmations over my life. You are an empowered woman. You are empowered. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're talented. You are walking in your purpose. If you don't speak those things over your life, you can't expect other people to speak them to you as well. So definitely do the self work and empower yourself. We have to empower ourselves. And also, I want to say, show some gratitude. I definitely like to think of things that I'm grateful for, even the little things. Like I'm grateful to have a roof over my head, to have a car. I'm grateful to have family, people that love me. So just think about those little things that you can be grateful for because it really helps you get through the day.
Here's a great question from her. She's asking, what would you do if you put on a little weight? What can we adjust, and how can we like regain that momentum and that power back?
If you put on a little weight,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would definitely say work on yourself, exercise, especially if you're like working from home. Working from home, I didn't get a chance to go out a lot except like grocery shopping or something, but I worked out at home. Also, change your diet. That's something that I did during COVID. I'm definitely eating healthier now. I'm cooking more. So take care of yourself. Even if it's like 10 or 15-minute workouts a day, do some jumping jacks, do some
Right.
sit ups or something. So include that in your daily routine, maybe like a 15-minute workout, and make it a priority to eat healthy.
Well, we had a great conversation with a nutritionist, talking
Mm-hmm.
about the same thing. And she said, actually, during this pandemic, also, it's okay. Like, enjoy.
It's
Like, if
okay.
you're gonna have that extra serving, she said,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. Don't
Exactly.
shame
Enjoy it.
yourself for it. Enjoy it. I
Yes.
thought that was one of the most powerful like actions.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, sure,
Yeah.
enjoy it, and then still take care of yourself, but don't shame
Exactly.
yourself because you've gained a few pounds. Like, we're all
Yeah.
gaining a few pounds, and it's not just because the camera adds them. Like, we're at it.
That is so true. And I also want to say, and I've been hearing, people say stuff like this, they put on a little weight. I've been telling people, show yourself some grace. We are going through crazy times right now. We never thought we would be going through a pandemic in 2020. Everyone had their goals set out and what they were going to do. And it was just like the world just stopped. So the world just stopped. So you have to show yourself some grace because not only are you going through it, the entire world is going through it. So just show yourself a little grace and be okay if you eat that ice cream.
Totally. Here's Greg. How important is color in your designs?
Oh, I definitely love color. Like color just makes everything pop. I'm not really a black girl. Like I'll wear black pants, but black seems so plain to me. But I noticed when I became a fashion designer, the most popular color that women wear is black because it makes them look smaller. But I believe that women should show color because it really makes your outfit pop. It just gives your look just different vibes. So I would say always incorporate color into your outfit. And I always try to do that in my designs. I think it's very important. It stands out. It's also a conversation starter.
Right.
Someone isn't gonna say, "Oh, I love that black dress," but they're gonna be like, "Girl, those red boots you have on," or "Girl, look at that orange top, that lipstick you're wearing." So always
I mean,
incorporate
look at
color.
some of these shots. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm showing some of your photos. As
Yes, I can definitely see it.
I'm just going through your Instagram, and I'm just like, man, like you've designed some really, really like great clothes.
Uh-huh.
And I love the shift. I love that you've kind of realized, hey, I'm gonna launch, and I don't care what the world's gonna throw at me. I'm gonna,
Yeah,
I'm gonna adjust. I'm gonna make
yeah,
sure that it's following a new vector. And
yeah.
we're super proud. I'm honored to have you on the show. I mean, I think just everything you do to like help women out and like how you
Mhm.
help the community is just so much. My favorite part of the show is we talk about 3 things we can do right now. So people are at home. It's a pandemic. What are 3 things an expert like you can tell us?
The first thing is definitely self-care, something that I mentioned before. You have to do the work. You have to do some self-care. That's going to help you feel good about yourself. So give yourself a daily facial, like a mask, maybe on Sundays. That's your rest days. I always mark Sundays as my rest days and no work. So I'll give myself like a facial. Paint your fingernails, do your toes, give yourself a pedicure. Do something that makes you feel good. So that's definitely number one. Number two is journal. It's very important that you keep a journal because um, you want to document like how you're feeling, what's going on in your life. I started traveling maybe about 13 years ago, and I was traveling abroad. I've done a lot of international traveling. And when I started traveling, I would always journal about my day and what was going on. And then 3 years later, I will always go back to my journal and see what happened in that country or what I experienced. And it kind of made me cry. Not that the moment was sad, but I just showed like what happened during that day. So I would say keep a journal because 3 years from now, you're going to be like, damn, man, we experienced a pandemic. Damn, this happened to me. I went through a depression stage, but I got over it. I experienced anxiety. And also show up for yourself and show yourself some grace. When the pandemic first started, I was very hard on myself. My momentum was down. Like you mentioned, I had just started a business. So it wasn't easy for me. But when I started to pivot my mindset and learned how to pivot my business, I started to show myself some grace and it eventually got better. So self care, journal, and show yourself some grace.
So powerful. So much. You know what? I wrote that down. Show up for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like true words spoken of somebody that's gone through it, and now motivating so many women, and
Mm-hmm.
and really at like the most important time, like we really need more people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for those little nuggets of just motivation, great energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm gonna start dressing up. You know, like we get a little
Mm-hmm.
sloppy, and it does change our mentality because nothing's changing, and if nothing's changing, nothing's getting better.
Yeah. Can I say something before
Sure.
I leave? Because you pulled up the picture of George Floyd.
Yes.
Be kind to others. Please be kind to others. You know, our country is going through a racial divide and racial tensions, and you just never know what a person is going through. And it doesn't matter that person's skin color, they can be black, white, or Asian. Just be kind to others. I think that's important during a time like this. While we're taking care of ourselves, like check on others and be kind to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we were saying is like just start leading with vulnerability. Everybody's having a tough time. But you
Mm-hmm.
don't start saying everything's great. Like, no, you know what? Start
Yeah.
with like, things are getting better. And they're gonna be getting
Yeah.
better and better. And that's how we're
Yeah.
gonna get through this. Is
Mm-hmm.
everybody's gonna get a little better. And
Mm-hmm.
and as long as we keep showing up for others and
Mm-hmm.
showing up for ourselves, I want to reiterate that. That is so powerful. That is
Mm-hmm.
one of our mottos for the rest of the month, maybe the rest of the year
Mm-hmm.
is that. So thank you so much for being on the show. We love to have you back, and best of luck with all that you're doing and launching during a pandemic, motivating women, motivating people, motivating men too. And somebody was asking, do you design for men as well?
Not yet. I'm not.
Right answer.
Yeah.
That is the right
women
answer.
right now, one step at a time. One step at a time.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'd love to have you back, Shadana.
But thank you for having me. This has been so fun. Thank you for having me and allowing me to tell my story and share some tips, some nuggets with others.
Perfect. If you text Expert56, you'll get direct access to her Instagram. She's got great photos, her contact info, and we'll look to have her back soon. Thank you so much, Shadana. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Guys, we're going to show you guys some photos. She's got some photos on here about all her designs. Just incredible. Thank you guys for joining us on Expert 35. We'll see you guys soon.